Thousands of families have reunited 1 month after the Ethiopia-Eritrea border reopened. Over 10,000 people have crossed into Ethiopia since 11th of September. Some have not seen their relatives in over 2 decades. Now, while the border is open for free movement in both directions, the Ethiopian Government Agency Administration for Refugee and Returnee Affairs continues to accept and register those that seek asylum as refugees, with more expected in the coming weeks. Let's explore this further now with Geno Teofilo. He's the Regional Head of Communications for the Norwegian Refugee Council in East Africa. Geno, thank you for joining us here on Africa Live. There's a lot of registration and reunification happening now in Ethiopia following the reopening of that border with Eritrea. Is Ethiopia ready and equipped, though, to do this?
Well, one thing that most people don't know about Ethiopia is that they have already accepted the second highest number of refugees in all of Africa. So they already have over 900,000 refugees, of which 170,000 are Eritrean refugees. So they do have a good system in place to receive the refugees, to get them registered, and also to move them on to refugee camps. For the Eritrean refugees, many of them are going to camps which are around the Shire area in the north.
So you do mention that Ethiopia has one of the highest numbers of refugees there, though, and that does bring with it strains on resources as well. What is the most effective way, though, of receiving the returnees or administering that?
Well, after refugees are settled into refugee camps, it is important to help them over the long term by giving them certain rights, such as allowing them to work, allowing them to open businesses, letting them grow their own crops, giving them some freedom of movement. This allows them to help to give help for their own families. But this way, not so much aid is needed from other organizations or from governments. So also, it's very important as well to support the host communities near these refugee camps. They also should have a decent standard of living. So they should also receive support, and there should be communication between the two groups, facilitate meetings between the leaders of refugees and leaders of host communities so that you can foster understanding so that they can live side by side peacefully.
So in terms of Ethiopia and Eritrea, of course, there was a political issue that led to that border closure at the beginning, though. So how is the idea of refugees or returnees, how is that being incorporated now in Ethiopia, especially the refugees coming from Eritrea?
Well, the new arrivals are coming in, and they are not just coming in just as migrants or as refugees. Some of them are also going back. There are all these family reunions going on. Over 83% of the people coming across have come across for family reunification. So this is great, this is fabulous. And as they come across, the ones that are trying to stay long-term, they are first registered at arrival centers closer to the border, then they are moved on to transit centers where further registration takes place, and then those who are staying longer, then they go to the refugee camps, many of which are around Shire. Meanwhile, some are coming across just for the family reunions, meeting their family that they haven't seen in years, and then some of them are even buying some goods and taking them back across the border with them to into Eritrea. So commerce is increasing, and of course this shows you the fruits of peace. These are the kind of benefits you have when you have peace and when you have open borders.
This is a very historic moment for both Ethiopia and Eritrea, and of course there must be some personal issues here that people are dealing with. What are some of the personal stories that you are hearing from the people on the ground, though, in terms of reuniting with their families? Oh,
there are many, many emotional, happy stories now of family reunions going on. One example is Haregu from a farming family in Eritrea. So she came across, she had not seen her 3 children in 10 years. So can you imagine the emotion of seeing your children you haven't seen in 10 years? And now add on to this, she's not seeing not only her 3 children, but her 3 children have families of their own. So she was seeing 4 grandchildren that she had never ever seen before, and seeing them all at once for the first time. These are emotional, happy, tearful reunions, and this is very good for the people of Eritrea and Ethiopia, and these are showing you the benefits of peace. All right, Geno Teofilo, thank you very much for your insights there.